Good morning, UUSS. Let's rise together. Let's sing of the future we build and we envision every time we're here together. Come and go with me to that land. 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 Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. Where I'm bound, there'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. Where I'm bound.
Oh my goodness, I'm out of breath. Whew. How wonderful to look out and see all these fabulous faces on this foggy morning. Thank you so much for being here. Whether you're here online or here in person, we are glad you are here. We are stronger in community. I'm the Reverend Lucy Bunch, and today we honor the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend Roger is preaching today, and his sermon focuses on Bayard Rustin, one of the architects of the civil rights movement. If you're online with us, you should find a link in the chat box to the order of service for today. And if you're new to UUSS, please fill out a newcomer's card, either using the link in the chat box or at our welcome table, so that we can connect with you and send you our regular communications. And I want to give a special welcome to some newcomers today from the UU Church of Davis, who are here just engaging with us in a neighborly way, and we're delighted to have them with us. Please check out the blue sheet for more information about what's going on in the upcoming week. And today is a very busy day. It's a soup Sunday, so please join us afterwards for delicious soup that's sponsored by our family ministry, religious education program, and friends. The line forms to the left and winds around the back corridor. Also today, after this service, around noon or so, Reverend Roger and I are hosting a Meet the Ministers gathering in the Foz room. You can learn more about UUSS and Unitarian Universalism, ask us questions within reasonable frame, and meet other newcomers newcomers to the congregation. So get your soup, come on over. We'll have a few more snacks in the room, but please bring your soup on over. We'll have tables there, and it should be a great gathering. Also, after this service, we're hosting Tere Flores Onofre, the director of Sacramento Area Congregations Together, which is our community partner for January. She's going to share information and tell us about the goals of SAC Act for this year, for 2026. So if you're interested in her talk, it will be happening over by where the tables are in the Welcome Hall. So please get your soup and head over there. The men's group is meeting today. If you're male identified, join them in room 7 and 8. And at 1 o'clock here in the sanctuary, we have a delightful opportunity to hear a violin piano concert by the Ismailov brothers. Originally from Russia, they have made Sacramento their home, and they're going to offer a great selection of music. No ticket is needed, but donations will be gratefully accepted. And finally, stop by the The Vote table to pick up packets of postcards for voters. It's not too early. It takes 10 times to tell somebody to remember to vote before they will remember. And it takes 10 times to tell me something before I will remember, so I can totally understand that. Thank you all for coming today. We're glad to see you, glad to be together.
Good morning. Our chalice lighter this morning is Tere Flores Onofre. She is the director of Sacramento Area Congregations Together, and as Rev. Lucy shared, she will be giving a presentation after the service. In his 1967 address to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "When our days become dreary with low hovering clouds of despair, and when our nights become darker than 1,000 midnights, let us remember that there is a creative force in this universe working to pull down the gigantic mountains of evil, a power that is able to make a way out of no way and transform dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows." Inspired by Dr. King, I invite you to join with me now in the words of our shared chalice lighting. We light our chalice in remembrance of all who have dedicated their lives in the pursuit of civil rights, and to kindle the spark of dedication to justice that lives in us all. May our time together feed our connection to that creative force which works to transform dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows, and our hope for the realization of Dr. King's beloved community. Now let us receive our music for invocation.
with love is possible. Let me remember the courage in my soul.
Thank you for that beautiful offering. Kids and teens, you're invited to join us in religious education this morning. We have Soul Kids for grades kindergarten through 5th, junior high youth group for grades 6th, 7th, and 8th, which I'll be helping lead this morning, and senior high youth group for grades 9 through 12. Anthony, will you help us sing the kids out?
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with a foot. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared. And I'm scared too. But here I am, right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Good morning. On this Sunday before the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, the federal holiday, tomorrow is the 30th anniversary of that federal holiday. Next, we light our candle of compassion and resistance. In this ritual, we recognize the times in which we live, times of disruption and anxiety in this country and the world, when cruelty is on display and so many people are in danger. Our values call us to compassion and resistance. As we kindle this flame, let its light inspire us to bear witness to human decency, dignity, freedom, and the power of love.
Fabric of our community together. Joe is going to turn on my mic. How's that? Okay, try it now. Okay. Great way to start a prayer, don't you think? We weave together the fabric of our community by sharing the joys and sorrows on our hearts. And you know you can find a link on the Friday message to tell us about a joy or sorrow that you'd like one of your ministers to share during the service. And on the first Sunday, we have the candle lighting and the card writing. So bring them forth, and we're happy to share. This morning, we have gratitudes to share. The first is from Kim Fuller, who says it's a joy to be part of the UUSS community and to benefit from the wisdom and warmth of the ministers. Oh, shucks. Susan Carlson shares that she and Richard have been going through a rough patch and are deeply grateful for the love and support that they've received from this beloved community. She says they've been fed, driven about, celebrated, loved, and cared for in the most wonderful ways. Their hearts are full. Good for us. Taking care of our people, a beautiful thing. And we really need to take care of ourselves right now. I brought you a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., that he delivered at the National Cathedral on March 31st, 1968, the year that he was assassinated. He says, "Somewhere we must come to see that human progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals who are willing to be co-workers with God." I'm going to read that again, it's so beautiful. "Somewhere we must come to see that human progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of the dedicated individuals who are willing to be co-workers with God." Or Spirit, or however you name that. Will you pray with me? Great Spirit, Spirit of love and life, Spirit of justice, help us to be co-creators of justice in this world. Let us truly believe and live that love trumps hate, that love triumphs over hate. We ask for the courage we need in the coming days to be present, to be engaged, to be committed. Let us open our hearts and offer love to the city of Minneapolis. We ask you, Great Spirit, to fill everyone there with perseverance, determination, and know that we love them, know that we care about them. Everywhere in the world where there is challenge and difficulty, we hold the energy of love and spirit. And we step into the commitment to be someone who makes a difference in this world. Help us, Spirit of love. Hold our hand as we walk forward in ways that are scary, in ways where we're uncertain. Hold our hand when we're afraid. Let us remember all the love and care that surrounds us. And let us know that there are more people who want what we want than there are troubled souls who are wrecking the world in so many ways. Help us find peace in our days. Help us be present to life. We ask all of this in the spirit of love and justice. We ask that courage and love fill our hearts now and in all the days to come. Blessed be. And now let's take a moment for the prayers in our own hearts. Blessed be.
Invite you to remain seated, feeling grounded, feeling your foundations. To be still and to breathe. Be still and breathe. Be still be. Listen to heartache, listen to grief. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to gladness, listen to joy. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to anger, listen to hurt. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to beauty, listen to grace. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to you, listen to me. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Be still and breathe. Be still and be.
The sermon today is in two parts, and there will be a couple of readings between part 1 and part 2. So you who are at home, don't log off after the first part thinking that it's over. So this is part 1. Are you ready? For me, watching the past few weeks in this country has been like a nightmare. So much of the past 12 months have felt like a nightmare. An ugly, scary, and unbelievable nightmare from which I can't wake up. I don't have a way out, but I do find some hope when I consider the history of the civil rights movement. Centuries old, this movement arose in this country because African Americans had been living in a series of nightmares. Over generations, these included enslavement, emancipation followed quickly by the backlash of lynching, race massacres, Jim Crow segregation, police repression, and a denial of the freedom to vote. Yet civil rights history shows that many acts of resistance to these nightmares took place from the very beginning. And the lessons of this history, especially more recent history, for me are these. Sustained resistance relies on a spiritual grounding and a commitment to our moral values. We need this grounding to move beyond our own comfort zones into the land of uncertainty. To sustain courage, we need the fellowship and support of other people. And we need a long-term perspective. These lessons have jumped out at me as I have been reading about the life of Bayard Rustin, who lived from 1912 to 1987. An organizer for civil rights and the cause of international peace, Rustin was a special advisor and speechwriter to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Rustin worked for many organizations for peace, civil rights, refugee support, nuclear non-proliferation, and economic justice. To me, his moral and spiritual grounding provides an inspiration for our many current crises. And his acts of sacrifice are a challenge to wrestle with. I want to tell you a few things about him. Bayard was born in 1912 in a suburb of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His young parents were not married, and he was brought up by his mother's parents as the ninth of their 12 children. His grandmother was a Quaker and a member of the local chapter of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Rustin was arrested for his activism 24 times over his life. At age 16, he was arrested for the first time for distributing a campaign leaflet for Al Smith, a presidential candidate who was Roman Catholic. In 1928, much of the country was hostile to Catholics. As a young man, Rustin openly refused to be drafted into the military when this country entered the Second World War. He was a pacifist and would not take up arms. For this, he spent 28 months of the war in a federal penitentiary. After the war, he advised young men in refusing to register for a peacetime draft because they resisted a racially segregated armed forces. He told them to write a letter to tell President Truman of their refusal so that they would not be seen as mere draft dodgers. Of course, they would still be punished, but accepting that is key to nonviolent resistance. President Truman faced pushback on military integration from Southern officers, especially General Omar Bradley, a recent war hero. Yet thanks to relentless activism by Rustin and others, Truman did finally end military segregation. In 1946, the Supreme Court ruled that bus and train companies with interstate routes could no longer segregate passengers by race. Then Rustin organized a group of 16 black and white men to ride buses from Washington, D.C. into southern states to test the bus company's compliance with the court's ruling. Black and white men would sit together, and another man would sit apart to observe the driver's actions. By the way, one of the white men was Homer Jack, a Unitarian minister and pacifist who was a co-founder of CORE, the Congress on Racial Equality. This 1946 campaign is remembered as the first one of the Freedom Rides. Rustin called it a journey of reconciliation. 8 years later in Alabama, civil rights worker Rosa Parks refused to move to the back of a city bus so that a white man could have her seat. This instigated the Montgomery Bus Campaign. For 381 days without a break, most blacks in Montgomery and some whites avoided using a bus. With Dr. King as the spokesman, Rustin worked on organizing carpools, private rides, and long walks to work. Unarmed volunteers followed the walkers for their safety. The Montgomery Bus Campaign is often referred to as a boycott. But Rustin said that word made it seem as if the passengers were causing economic harm, when it was the bus companies that were hurting the local community. Some civil rights organizations focused on making legal challenges in courts, and they still do. Rustin, on the other hand, was a master of peaceful mass action. He was the lead organizer of 3 different marches on this nation's capital starting in 1957. This was the prayer pilgrimage for freedom. It brought 25,000 people to the Lincoln Memorial. Dr. Martin Luther King spoke using the refrain, "Give us the ballot." Rustin convinced Dr. King to emphasize the spiritual and moral basis of the struggle for democracy. And he got him to call for direct action that was nonviolent. According to writer Michael G. Long, the 1957 march put Dr. King in the top echelon of civil rights leaders. Rustin did much of his organizing work behind the scenes, in the shadows, because he was gay. As a youth, he had told his grandmother of his same-sex attraction, and she accepted and affirmed his identity. Reportedly, he never struggled to gain self-acceptance. He was confident. Yet in that era, homosexuality was illegal. There were few ways for gay people to meet. In the 1940s, Rustin was arrested 3 times for picking up men in public or trying to. In 1953, he was arrested in Pasadena on a morals charge and put in the Los Angeles County Jail for a month. At the time, he was a leader at the Fellowship of Reconciliation, an interfaith peace organization based in New York. Because of the bad publicity, the board of the fellowship asked him to resign. He did. Yet because of his brilliance at organizing, 2 years later, his former boss founded a new peace organization and recruited Rustin to run it. In 1960, Rustin pitched a plan for mass demonstrations to be held at the upcoming presidential nominating conventions of the Democratic and Republican parties. This plan angered Adam Clayton Powell, a powerful African-American congressman from New York. To stop it, Powell threatened to tell the media that Rustin and Dr. King were lovers, which was a lie. Rustin offered his resignation from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. When it was accepted, he was crushed. After all, he had been a co-founder of that organization. His colleagues then ignored him. Dr. King kept his distance for 2 years, but Rustin kept working. For example, in 1962, he led the largest peace demonstration to date at the United Nations headquarters in New York City, with 8,000 people marching. He went to Africa to urge anti-colonialist leaders to rely on the power of nonviolence, and he trained their volunteers in its practice. Back in college, as a young man, Rustin had joined the Young Communist League, but he broke with it after 3 years. 2 decades later, both Rustin and Dr. King were smeared as communists. U.S. Senator Strom Thurmond, a white segregationist from South Carolina, denounced Rustin on the Senate floor as a sex pervert and a communist. Rustin wrote a public reply to Thurmond's remarks, calling them a measure of the desperation of the segregationist cause. First, he said he would leave it up to the leaders who had hired him to evaluate his moral integrity. Second, he was not a communist. He wrote, "I have given abundant and public demonstrations of my opposition to totalitarianism and undemocratic elements everywhere, in Russia as well as in South Carolina." Fortunately, Rustin was never shunned by his mentor. This was A. Philip Randolph, who was 23 years older than Rustin. Randolph had founded the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, a union of black men who worked on passenger trains. During the Second World War, Randolph had agitated successfully for President Roosevelt to ban segregation in the defense industry. It was Randolph who proposed the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, which would happen in August of 1963. By the time the march was taking shape, Dr. King had been reaching out to Rustin, asking how he was, and asking again for his advice. During a planning meeting for the march, Rustin's name came up as a possible director. Some civil rights leaders objected. Instead, the group decided to recruit A. Philip Randolph as the march's director. Randolph accepted the role on the condition that he could appoint his own deputy director. He appointed Rustin. In his role, Rustin led the staff and volunteers that coordinated so many things. They organized the transportation of marchers from all parts of the country. They helped marchers prepare to lobby members of Congress for civil rights legislation. They recruited black police officers and veterans to be parade marshals, unarmed, of course. They organized nonviolence training. The resulting crowd of 250,000 people represented the largest turnout of protesters to that point in American history. It is where Dr. King stirred our spirits with his famous oration, "I Have a Dream." As a result, in the next 2 years, Congress approved the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, and President Johnson signed them. In one of his first campaigns in 1948, Rustin gave this advice to volunteers about nonviolent resistance. "We are depending on the goodwill that we can express to win not only freedom and liberty, but more important, to win over to our side as many people as we can. Hence, he told them, behave in such a fine, dignified manner that the police officers become ashamed to arrest anyone who behaves so well." This advice can seem naive in 2026 when ICE agents shoot unarmed protesters with no investigations conducted, let alone charges filed. No doubt it seemed naive in 1948 when lynchings were seldom prosecuted. But Rustin was not naive. After all, he had been beaten and jailed. He spent 30 days on a prison chain gang in North Carolina. He explained that nonviolent resistance means to refuse to cooperate with injustice or cruelty and to accept the suffering that results from your noncompliance. It is a sacrifice of one's comfort and safety. But it is a sacrifice for a vision of a future with more justice and freedom and peace. Rustin said, "We must be willing to face uncertainty now if our children are to be reared in a world where they can grow freely and live beautifully."
Good morning. I'm your worship associate, Connor Lane. I have a reading from Bayard Rustin. It's part of a letter that he wrote to the New York Times in 1985. Rustin writes, "Dr. King's last march in solidarity with sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, only a week before his assassination, turned violent when some disorderly youths broke ranks and vandalized downtown stores. This failure devastated him, and it was, of course, a great disappointment to all of us dedicated to nonviolent social change. When he was killed on April 4th, 1968, Dr. King was organizing a follow-up march, which he hoped would be so peaceful as to wipe out the memory of the one that failed. On learning of Dr. King's death, I was I determined that this second march must be held and must be successful. I rounded up a number of young people who had worked with me on organizing the March for Washington in 1963 and left immediately for Memphis. For 3 days and nights, despite a dusk to dawn curfew, we obtained special police passes and worked feverishly planning the line of march and coordinating the participation of the NAACP, the Urban League, churches, and sanitation workers. To ensure order, we trained many of the very youths who had rioted in the first march. We appointed them as marshals to maintain order in the second. Despite the anger set off by the assassination, on the day before Dr. King's funeral, thousands marched peacefully into Memphis. Irina's gift of music this morning is the tune from Dr. King's favorite hymn, Precious Lord, Take My Hand, which is in our gray hymnal at number 199. It was composed in 1938 by Thomas A. Dorsey, who is considered the father of African-American gospel music. After the music, we invite you to let it settle into your body and your soul without applauding. Generosity is a spiritual practice. Your gifts, given in the spirit of generosity, support the life and work of this community and of our community partners. Each week, we give half of our offering to a local organization whose mission aligns with ours. And this month, our community partner is Sacramento Area Congregations Together. Known as SACT-ACT, this powerful, multiracial, multi-faith organization has been working for 30 years to advance our shared values, including economic, racial, and climate justice. UUSS is proud to be one of the 56 congregations that make up SACT-ACT. We're very fortunate to have the executive director of SACT-ACT, Tede Flores Onofre, here today. She will be giving an update on SAC Act's 2026 priorities and how you can support this important work. So grab your soup and join us at the round tables in the Welcome Hall after service. Please check the slides for choices about how to contribute, and thank you for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be given and received. As the ushers come forward, please join in our unison response. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits. This next reading is a letter by Rustin. An author had asked him to participate in an anthology of histories of African-American gay men. At this point, Rustin was 74. He declined, saying, quote, "It would be dishonest of me to present myself as one who is in the forefront of the struggle for gay rights." Rustin added this, My activism did not spring from my being gay, or for that matter, from my being black. Rather, it is rooted fundamentally in my Quaker upbringing and the values that were instilled in me by my grandparents who reared me. Those values are based on the concept of a single human family and the belief that all members of that family are equal. Adhering to those values has meant making a stand against injustice to the best of my ability, whenever and wherever it occurs. The racial injustice that was present in this country during my youth was a challenge to my belief in the oneness of the human family. It demanded my involvement in the struggle to achieve interracial democracy. Needless to say, I worked side by side with many white people who held these same values.
In 1954, Bayard Rustin wrote, "Our truth is an ancient one, that love endures and overcomes, that hatred destroys." Rustin said that whatever is obtained by hatred and violence becomes a burden to those who take it. But whatever is obtained by love will remain. Nonviolent resistance is an important part of this country's history, but it's not found only on the pages of books or the black and white images of a documentary film. It's found right now on the streets of Minneapolis, where ordinary people risk their comfort and their safety to protect their neighbors and their democracy from 3,000 federal ICE agents with guns. Nonviolent resistance is found right now in the streets of the cities of Iran, where snipers have killed thousands of adults and children protesting in the street. To be sure, not everybody can be like Bayard Rustin or Martin Luther King Jr. Not everybody can do what they were able to, and most of us wouldn't choose to try. But we can learn from them. For me, the lessons from Rustin's life are these: working against injustice and cruelty is work we do in community. It takes everyone to win justice and freedom. We have different roles to play, and we all have skills we can learn. And if we clarify our moral and spiritual values, our values can sustain us for the long haul. As Rustin said, we must be willing to face uncertainty now if our children are to be reared in a world where they can grow freely and live beautifully. An older minister friend of mine in Minneapolis is not able to be out on the cold streets of that city right now to resist ICE agents. Yet she is making food for volunteers and making food for immigrants and other neighbors of color who are hiding at home. On social media, she's telling the rest of us what's going on there. She sent a list of local organizations that need monetary contributions. To be sure, they need our support. At the same time, however, we can do our part in whatever place we call home. As you heard, there is a forum after the service to meet the executive director of Sacramento ACT, and that is one place to do our part. Only some people are called to lead movements, but all of us can participate. We can learn, raise questions, write letters, get out the vote. We can give money, contact our legislators, pray, sing, speak out, and show up. I feel that right now we are being called to the edges of our comfort zones, called by our conscience, by the source of love, by the suffering of our neighbors. We are called we are being invited to move beyond those edges into uncertainty. Rustin believed that all members of the human family are equal in dignity and rights, and he based his actions in love. Today we are asking, what are we called to do in the name of love? Whatever is obtained by love remains. It remains to nourish, gratify, inspire, and give us courage. Love endures. Through us and beyond us, love endures. May we all find courage together, and may we demonstrate that love endures. So may it be. Blessed be, and amen.
We'd like to invite you to join us on some portions of this closing selection, which is Keep On Moving Forward by the music duo Emma's Revolution.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Sigamos adelante, siempre adelante, siempre adelante, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás.
Next we light, as we extinguish our flames, please join us in speaking our shared intention on the slide. May the power of this gathering light our way forward with courage. In the days to come, let us remember that fear is outworked by hope and that hatred is no match for the power of love.
I invite you to reach out your hands. The choir and we reach out to you. Reach back to us. If you're at home, reach out to us as we are reaching out. May you depart in peace and be led forth in joy. And for all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. And for all who seek a right path, may a way be found and the courage to take it, step by step, together, one day at a time. Blessed be.